The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years before humans arrived. In all that time, no species had ever broken the silence during a judgment assembly. But Captain Park Soo-min did not know this rule, and even if she had known, she would have broken it anyway. The assembly hall was enormous. It floated in empty space, far from any star, built from crystal that had taken 300 years to grow. Inside, representatives from 47 species sat in curved rows that rose toward a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. Blue light filled the chamber. Cold and ancient dot at the center stood a small platform. On this platform, a creature trembled. It was a Velith child, no bigger than a human toddler. Its forearms wrapped around its thin body. Its large eyes, black as deep water, looked at nothing. It had stopped crying hours ago. Now it simply waited. "The evidence is clear," said High Arbiter Kolthen. He was a Mordashi, tall and thin, with gray skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. His voice echoed through the hall like wind through empty caves. "This child carries the genetic marker of the plague seed. The law is absolute. The Velith homeworld must be quarantined. All Velith outside the quarantine zone must be eliminated." Soo-min stood in the human section, which was small and placed near the back. Humanity had only been part of the council for 11 years. They were still considered newcomers, barely worth noticing. The other species called them the loud ones, or the short-lived. Some simply called them the mistake. She watched the child on the platform. It had been taken from its mother 3 days ago. Its crime was existing. Its punishment was death. This law was written after the Keseth catastrophe, Kolthen continued. 4 billion lives lost because one infected individual was allowed to survive. We do not make exceptions. We cannot afford mercy. Around the chamber, representatives nodded or made gestures of agreement. The Velith ambassador sat frozen, tears running down his face in silence. His species had no voice in this matter. The law had already decided. Soo-min felt something hot rise in her chest. She had felt it before, many times. When she was young and saw a child being beaten in the streets of Bizen. When she served in the Navy and watched a rescue ship turn away from drowning refugees because of politics. When her own daughter had been sick and the hospital demanded payment before treatment. It was a feeling that had gotten her in trouble her entire life. Her mother had called it her curse. Her commanding officers had called it insubordination. Her therapist had called it a hero complex. Soo-min called it being human. She stepped forward, past the barrier that separated the human section from the main floor. An alarm sounded, soft but urgent. Security drones turned toward her, their weapons warming up. Captain Park hissed Ambassador Yoon behind her. "What are you doing? Sit down. This is not our matter." She ignored him. She walked down the long aisle between the seated representatives. Thousands of alien eyes turned to watch her. Some looked confused. Others looked offended. A few looked curious. She reached the central platform and stopped. The Velith child looked up at her. For a moment, their eyes met. The child did not understand what was happening. It only understood that it was alone and afraid. Soo-min knelt down. She removed her uniform jacket and wrapped it around the child's thin shoulders. Then she picked it up and held it against her chest. The child made a small sound. Not crying. Something else. A sound of relief so deep it seemed to come from its soul. "Human." Kolthen's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You break sacred protocol. You interfere with lawful judgment. Explain yourself or face immediate execution." Soo-min stood up slowly, the child still in her arms. She turned to face the High Arbiter. He towered above her, a giant of gray flesh and cold authority. "My name is Park Soo-min," she said. Her voice was calm. "I am a captain in the United Earth Space Force. I am a mother of 2 children, and I am taking this child out of here." Murmurs spread through the assembly like ripples in water. Several representatives stood up. Security drones moved closer, their weapons now fully charged. "You cannot," Kolfen said. "The law forbids it." "Your law," Sumin replied. "Not mine. You are part of this council. You are bound by our laws. I am part of this council because my government signed a treaty. I did not sign anything, and even if I had, I would break it now." Kolfen leaned forward. His eyes, small and yellow, studied her with something between anger and fascination. "You would die for this creature? A child you do not know? A species that is not your own?" Sumin looked down at the child in her arms. It had fallen asleep, exhausted by fear and relief. Its breathing was soft against her neck. "Yes," she said. "I would." The chamber fell completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the security drones seemed to hesitate. In 12,000 years, the Galactic Council had seen many things. They had seen wars that burned entire star systems. They had seen plagues that killed billions. They had seen empires rise and fall like waves on a cosmic shore. But they had never seen this. They had never seen someone willing to die for a stranger's child. Ambassador Yoon stood in the human section, his face pale. He knew what came next. Either Sumin would be killed, and humanity would face sanctions for her actions, or something else would happen. Something that had never happened before. He did not know which possibility frightened him more. On the platform, Sumin waited. The child slept in her arms. And somewhere, across the vast darkness of space, the universe held its breath. High Arbiter Kolthen raised his hand. The security drones moved forward, weapons aimed at the small human woman holding the sleeping child. Their targeting systems locked on. One command, and she would be dust. "Wait," the voice came from the upper rows of the assembly. It belonged to Elder Vesheth, the oldest member of the council. She was a coralinth, a species that lived for thousands of years. Her body was like a tree made of coral and crystal, beautiful and ancient. She had been alive when the Plague Seed Law was written. She had voted for it herself. "Elder," Kolthen said, "this matter does not require your input. The law is clear." "The law is old," Vasheth replied. Her voice was like wind chimes in a storm, high and musical. "I should know. I helped write it. But I would hear why this human defies us. We have time. The universe is patient." Kolfen's jaw tightened, but he lowered his hand. The security drones pulled back slightly. Everyone in the chamber turned to look at Su-Min. She shifted the child in her arms carefully. It was heavier than it looked. Her shoulders ached, but she did not show it. "Among my people," she began, "there is a word, Jeng. It has no perfect translation in the common galactic language. It means a deep affection that grows between people over time. But it can also appear suddenly, like a fire. When you see someone suffering, and something inside you says that their pain is your pain." Several representatives exchanged confused glances. The Mordashi had no word for such a concept. Neither did the Kelvathi or the Oresh. Emotions, to most species, were private things. They did not spread from person to person like disease. "I look at this child," Sumin continued, "and I feel Jeng. I cannot explain it. I cannot turn it off. It simply is. And because of this feeling, I cannot watch her die without trying to save her." "Her?" Elder Vasheth asked. "The child. She is female. Did anyone bother to ask?" Silence. The answer was obvious. No one had asked. No one had cared. To the council, the child was not a person. She was a biological hazard. A problem to be eliminated. "You speak of feelings," Kolthen said. "Feelings are weakness. The Council makes decisions based on logic and law. 4 billion Keseth died because one individual was spared. Would you risk billions more for one child? Su-Min thought about this. She thought about the math. One life against billions. The numbers were clear. The logic was sound, and yet, on my world, she said, we have a saying. If you save one life, you save the whole world. That is not logical. No, it is human. Ambassador Yoon had moved closer to the main floor. He was sweating. This was a diplomatic disaster. Humanity's place in the Council. Their trade agreements, their military alliances. Everything could be lost because one captain could not follow orders. But even as he thought this, he felt something strange in his chest. Something he had not felt in years. Not since he was young, before politics had taught him to be careful about pride. Captain Park, he said, stepping forward. You realize what you are doing? You are putting all of humanity at risk. I know, Su-Min said. You will be court-martialed, imprisoned. Your career is over. I know. And still you will not give up the child? Su-Min looked at him. Her eyes were tired but steady. Ambassador, when you were young, did you ever want to be a hero? Yoon said nothing. I did, Su-Min continued. I grew up reading stories about brave people who did the right thing even when it was hard. Then I grew up, and I learned that the world does not work that way. Heroes are punished. Cowards are rewarded. And everyone says that this is just how things are. She held the child tighter. But here is what I learned. The stories exist because someone, somewhere, refused to accept how things are. They chose to be brave anyway. And maybe they lost. Maybe they died. But they proved that it was possible. They showed us who we could be. Elder Vasheth made a sound. It might have been a laugh. You are a philosopher, Captain Park. No, I am a mother who is holding someone else's daughter. And I will not let her go. The chamber remained still. Kolfen looked at Elder Vasheth. Something passed between them, an ancient communication that no human could understand. There is another way, Vasheth said finally. An old law, older even than the Plague Seed Decree. The law of claiming. Whispers spread through the assembly. Some of the older representatives nodded. Others looked confused. If a species claims responsibility for another, Vasheth continued, they take on all risk, all consequence. If the plague seed spreads from this child, humanity bears the full weight of that disaster. Every death, every destroyed world. The guilt would be yours. And if it does not spread? Su-Min asked. Then you have gained nothing but a debt. The Veleth will owe you. The Council will owe you. Such debts are heavy things. Su-Min did not hesitate. I claim her. On behalf of humanity, I claim this child. Ambassador Yoon made a choking sound. Captain, you cannot speak for all of humanity. You do not have the authority. Then give me the authority. That is not how, Ambassador. Su-Min's voice was quiet but hard. Right now, you can either be remembered as the man who let a child die to protect trade agreements, or you can be remembered as the man who stood up when it mattered. Choose. Yoon looked at her. He looked at the child. He looked at the thousands of alien eyes watching him, and then, slowly, he nodded. I authorize it, he said. His voice cracked. On behalf of the United Earth Government, I authorize the claiming. Kolfen's eyes narrowed. You understand what you are doing? Yes, Yoon said. We understand. The High Arbiter turned to Elder Vasheth. She nodded once. It was done. The claiming is accepted, Kolfen announced. His voice was cold, but there was something else in it now. Something almost like respect. The child belongs to humanity. Her fate is your fate. May you not regret this choice. Su Min let out a breath she did not know she was holding. In her arms, the child stirred, opened her eyes, and looked up at the strange human who had saved her life. "You are safe now," Su Min whispered. "I promise." The child did not understand the words, but she understood the feeling behind them. She closed her eyes and slept again, peaceful for the first time in days. In the assembly, representatives began to leave. The drama was over. But as they walked out, many of them glanced back at the small, human woman standing alone on the platform. They were beginning to understand something important. Humans were not just loud. They were not just short-lived. They were dangerous, but not in the way anyone had expected. The child's name was Vela Thirano. She was 4 years old by her species counting, which meant she was about 6 by human standards. She had been taken from her mother during the initial quarantine. Her mother had screamed and fought and begged. It had not mattered. The law did not listen to screaming. Now Tharanal sat in the medical bay of the human ship Horizon, eating something called ice cream. She had never tasted anything like it. Cold and sweet and soft. She ate 3 bowls before falling asleep again. Dr. Huang Ji-1 watched her with careful eyes. He had been scanning her for hours, searching for any sign of the plague seed. The genetic marker was there, yes. A tiny sequence of proteins that could, under certain conditions, trigger a devastating illness. But so far, there was no activation. The plague slept inside her, dormant and quiet. "What do you think?" Su Min asked. She stood by the doorway, arms crossed. She had not slept in 2 days. "The marker is present but inactive," G1 said. "In theory, it might never activate. Or it might activate tomorrow. We do not have enough data on Veleth biology to know. So we wait. We wait. And we watch. And we hope." Su Min nodded. She looked at the sleeping child. Thiranal had wrapped herself in blankets until only her face was visible. Her 4 arms clutched the fabric like she was afraid someone would take it away. "She trusts us," G1 said quietly. "I do not know if that is good or bad." "It is good," Su Min said. "Trust should be good." The ship traveled through hyperspace for 3 days. During this time, Su Min received 17 messages from Earth Command. Some were angry. Some were confused. One was from the President herself, asking for a full explanation of what had happened. Su-Min answered none of them. She would face consequences when she faced them. For now, her only job was to keep one small child alive. On the second day, Thiranal spoke her first words. "Where is my mother?" Su Min was sitting beside her bed, reading reports on a tablet. She looked up and saw those large black eyes staring at her. There was no anger in them, no accusation, just a simple question from a child who did not understand why the universe had hurt her. "Your mother is on your home world," Su Min said carefully. "She is in quarantine. Do you know what that means?" "It means she cannot leave." "Yes. Can I go to her?" "Not yet. Maybe not for a long time." Thiranal was silent. She looked down at her 4 hands, small and delicate, each finger ending in a soft blue nail. "She told me to be brave," the child said, "when they took me away. She said to be brave and wait for her. She said she would find me." Su Min's throat felt tight. She thought of her own daughters, back on Earth. Ji-Yeon was 12 now, already taller than her mother. Min-Zi-Seo was 8, still afraid of the dark. What would she do if someone took them away? What would she say? "Your mother sounds very strong," Su Min said. "She is. She is the strongest person I know. Then you should trust her. If she said she would find you, she will." Thiranal looked up. "Do you really believe that?" Su Min hesitated. She did not want to lie. Lies were easy, but children always learned the truth eventually. And when they did, They stopped trusting. "I believe that mothers do impossible things for their children," she said finally. "I do not know if your mother will find you, but I know she will try. As long as she breathes, she will try." Thirinal considered this. Then she nodded, small and serious. "You are a mother too. How did you know?" "You smell like one. Safe. My mother smelled like that." Su-min did not know how to respond. She reached out and gently touched the child's head. Her skin was cool and smooth, like river stones. "I will take care of you," Su-min said, "until your mother finds you. I promise." Okay, that was all. Just okay. But it was enough. On the third day, they arrived at Earth. The planet hung in space like a blue marble, swirled with white clouds. Thirinal pressed her face against the window and stared. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "It is home," Su-min said. "My home, and for now, your home too." A shuttle came to meet them. Inside were 3 officials from the Earth government and 2 scientists from the Global Health Organization. They were nervous. They had heard the reports. They knew what was at stake. "Captain Park," said the lead official, a thin man named Director Choi, "you have created a very difficult situation." "I know," Su-min said, "and I would do it again." Director Choi looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked at Thirinal, who was hiding behind Su-min's leg, watching the strangers with frightened eyes. "The council has sent demands," Choi said. "They want the child returned. They say we have no right to invoke the law of claiming without proper authorization. Ambassador Yoon authorized it. Ambassador Yoon has been recalled. His authority is being reviewed." Su-min felt cold anger rise in her chest. "So you will send her back? To be killed?" Director Choi said nothing. The 2 scientists looked uncomfortable. The other officials studied their shoes. "The decision has not been made yet," Choi said finally. "There will be hearings, debates. The council is threatening sanctions. Our trade routes, our alliances. She is a child. She is a political problem." Su-min stepped forward. She was shorter than Choi, but in that moment, she seemed taller. Her eyes burned with something old and fierce. "Director," she said quietly, "I have spent my whole life following orders. I have done things I am not proud of because someone above me said it was necessary. But there is a line, a place where orders stop mattering. And that line is here." She pointed down at Thirinal. "This child. If you send her back, you will have to go through me. And then you will have to go through every person on this ship. And then you will have to explain to every human on Earth why you killed a child to protect trade agreements." Choi's face went pale. "You are threatening the government?" "No. I am telling you what will happen. Humans do not like watching children die. It makes us angry. And when humans get angry, Director, we do not stop until we have made someone answer for it." She leaned closer. "Do you really want to be that someone?" The shuttle was silent. Thirinal gripped Su-min's hand, not understanding the words but understanding the feeling. The tall human with the cold eyes was trying to hurt her protector. Her protector was fighting back. Director Choi swallowed hard. He looked at the child. He looked at the captain. And then, slowly, he looked away. "We will continue the discussions," he said. "No decision has been made. Make sure it is the right one," Su-min replied. The shuttle docked. The officials left quickly, their confidence shaken. And Su-min stood at the window, holding a child who was not hers, looking at a planet that had just become a battleground. The fight was not over. It was only beginning. The news spread like fire. Within hours of the shuttle landing, someone leaked the story to the press. No one knew who. Maybe a crew member from the horizon. Maybe one of the officials who had met them. It did not matter. What mattered was that suddenly, everyone on Earth knew. A human captain had defied the Galactic Council. She had taken a child from the executioner's platform. She had looked into the eyes of beings who had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years and told them no. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. In Seoul, thousands gathered outside the government building, holding signs that read, "Protect Thera now" and "Humanity stands together." In New York, protesters blocked the streets near the United Nations. In Lagos, in Mumbai, in Sao Paulo, people who had never met each other stood side by side and demanded the same thing: do not send her back. Do not let her die. Su-Min watched the footage from her temporary quarters on an orbital station. Thiranal sat beside her, playing with a toy that Dr. Wang had given her. It was a simple thing, a ball that changed colors when you squeezed it. The child was fascinated by it. "Why are they angry?" Thiranal asked, looking at the crowds on the screen. "They are not angry," Su-Min said. "They are worried. About you." "Me?" The child looked confused. "They do not know me." "No, but they know what happened to you. And they do not want you to be hurt." Thiranal thought about this. Her species did not have crowds. The Velith lived in small family groups, rarely gathering in numbers larger than a few dozen. The idea of thousands of strangers caring about a single child was strange to her. "Humans are strange," she said finally. Su-Min smiled. "Yes, we are." On the third day after their arrival, something unexpected happened. The Velith ambassador, who had been silent since the assembly, sent a message. It was short and simple. "Thank you. Whatever happens, thank you." The message included coordinates, a location on the quarantined Velith homeworld, a small village near a blue ocean, and a name. Thiranal's mother was alive. She was trapped, unable to leave, but she was alive. She had seen the news. She knew her daughter was safe. When Su-Min told Thiranal, the child did not cry. She simply held the colorful ball very tight and closed her eyes. "I told you," Su-Min said softly. "Mothers do impossible things." But the good news did not last. On the fifth day, the Galactic Council issued an ultimatum. Return the child within 30 standard days or face complete isolation. No trade, no communication, no travel. Humanity would be cut off from the galaxy entirely. Director Choi called Su-Min to a meeting. This time, he was not alone. The president herself was there, along with generals, scientists, and diplomats. They filled a large conference room, their faces grave. "Captain Park," the president said. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Her name was President Moon, and she had been elected on a promise to strengthen humanity's place in the galaxy. Now that promise seemed like a cruel joke. "Madam President," Su-Min replied, "you have put us in an impossible position." "I know. I'm sorry." "Are you? Truly?" Su-Min thought about it. She thought about Thiranal, playing with her ball, asking about the angry people on screens. She thought about a mother trapped on a dying world, watching the news and hoping. "No," she said. "I'm not sorry. I would do it again." The president nodded slowly. "I thought so." She turned to the others in the room. "Leave us. All of you." There was confusion, protest. A general started to argue. The president silenced him with a look. One by one, they filed out until only Su-Min and the president remained. "Sit down, Captain." Su-Min sat. The president poured 2 cups of tea from a pot on the table. The smell was familiar. Green tea, the kind Su-Min's grandmother used to make. "I have been president for 6 years, Moon said. "In that time, I have made many decisions. Some good, some bad. Some I still cannot sleep over." She handed Su-Min a cup. "But this decision may be the most important one I ever make. What will you do?" "I do not know yet. That is why I wanted to talk to you alone." They sat in silence for a moment, drinking tea. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly, beautiful and fragile. When I was young, the president said, my grandmother told me a story about a tiger and a rabbit. Do you know it? Su Min shook her head. A tiger caught a rabbit and was about to eat it. The rabbit said, if you spare me, I will bring you 10 rabbits tomorrow. The tiger agreed. The next day, the rabbit returned with 10 rabbits. But when the tiger tried to catch them, they all ran in different directions. The tiger caught none. The president smiled slightly. My grandmother asked me what the lesson was. I said the lesson was that rabbits are clever. She shook her head. She said the lesson was that the tiger should have eaten the rabbit when it had the chance. Su Min frowned. I do not understand. Neither did I, not until years later. The president set down her cup. The council thinks we are the rabbit, small, weak, desperate to survive. They think if they threaten us enough, we will give up the child and beg for forgiveness. And what do you think? President Moon's eyes grew hard. Something ancient and fierce flickered in them. I think they do not understand us at all. I think they have forgotten that humans are not rabbits. We are the other thing in that story. The thing that hunts. The thing that never stops. She stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung below them, covered in lights where cities glowed against the night. 30 days, she said. That is how long we have. In 30 days, we must either surrender the child or face isolation. Those are the only choices they gave us. Yes, the president turned. Her smile was small and dangerous. Then we will make a third choice. One they never expected. What choice is that? We will cure the plague. Su Min stared at her. That is impossible. The council scientists have tried for thousands of years. The council scientists follow the council's rules. They do not take risks. They do not break traditions. They do not try things that might fail. The president walked back to the table. But humans are different. We fail constantly. We fail and fail and fail. And then, one day, we succeed. She picked up her tablet and showed Su Min a document. It was a research proposal, marked urgent and classified. I am authorizing every resource we have. Every scientist. Every lab. Every credit in our budget. We have 30 days to do what the galaxy could not do in 12,000 years. And if we fail, then at least we tried. At least we did not surrender. At least we showed the galaxy who humans really are. Su Min read the document. It was ambitious. Insane even. The kind of plan that only worked in stories. But then again, so was standing alone in an alien chamber and claiming a child that belonged to no one. I am in, Su Min said. The president nodded. I know. That is why you were always my first choice for this mission. She extended her hand. Su Min took it. Outside, the stars watched and waited. The universe had seen many things in its long existence, but it had never seen anything quite like humanity when they decided to fight the impossible dot it was about to learn. Day 27. The labs had not slept. Scientists from every nation worked in shifts that never ended. Coffee and tea became currency more valuable than credits. Failures stacked up like mountains, thousands of experiments that led nowhere, dead ends that seemed final until someone found a way around them. Dr. Wang Yi stood at the center of it all. He had not seen his family in 3 weeks. His eyes were red. His hands shook from too much caffeine. But he would not stop. None of them would. The plague seed was ancient, older than most civilizations in the galaxy. It had evolved over millions of years, hiding in genetic code, waiting for the right conditions to activate. Previous attempts to cure it had failed because they tried to destroy it directly. They treated it like an enemy to be killed. G1 had a different idea. We do not fight it, he said to his team on day 22. We befriend it. They thought he was crazy. Maybe he was. But crazy ideas were the only ones left. The plague seed needed certain conditions to activate: temperature, chemical balance, specific proteins in the blood. If even one condition was missing, it would stay dormant forever. G1's plan was simple. Instead of destroying the seed, they would change the body around it. A tiny modification to the immune system, barely noticeable, but enough to create an environment where the seed could never wake up. It was not a cure in the traditional sense. The seed would still be there, sleeping in the cells. But it would sleep forever. It would never hurt anyone again. On day 25, they tested it on cell samples. It worked. On day 26, they tested it on animals with similar biology. It worked. On day 27, they had one final test. The most important one. Thiranel sat in the medical chair, her forearms holding the colorful ball that had become her favorite thing. Su-min stood beside her, holding one of her hands. "This will feel strange," Ji-won said gently, "like cold water inside your body. But it will not hurt. I promise." The child looked up at Su-min. "Will you stay?" "Always," Su-min said. The injection took only seconds. Thiranel shivered, made a face, and then looked surprised. "That is it?" "That is it," Ji-won said. He was already studying the monitors, watching the data flow across the screens. His heart beat so hard he could hear it in his ears. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2. And then Ji-won started to laugh. It was not a happy laugh. It was the sound of someone who had carried an impossible weight and finally set it down. "It worked," he whispered. It actually worked. The plague seed in Thiranel's cells had gone completely dormant. Not just sleeping, silent, dead to the world around it. Unable to activate no matter what happened. She was cured. 3 days later. On day 30, a human ship arrived at the Galactic Council Assembly Hall. This time, Captain Park Su-min did not come as a criminal or a rebel. She came as an ambassador. The chamber was full again. Representatives from every species watched as she walked to the central platform. But this time, she was not alone. President Moon walked beside her. Dr. Wang followed, carrying a datapad filled with research that would change the galaxy. And at the front, walking with her small legs and her forearms clasped nervously, was THIRA-Anna-L. High Arbiter Colthan rose from his seat. His face was unreadable, but there was something different in his eyes. Uncertainty, perhaps even fear. "You return on the final day," he said. "Have you come to surrender the child?" "No," President Moon said. Her voice rang through the chamber like a bell. "We have come to save your galaxy." She gestured to Dr. Wang, who stepped forward and placed the datapad on the central console. Instantly, the information spread to every screen in the chamber. Research notes, test results, genetic sequences, proof. In 30 days, Moon continued, human scientists did what your council could not do in 12,000 years. We found a cure for the plague seed, not a temporary solution, not a containment measure. A permanent cure that can be given to any species that carries the marker. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then, slowly, Elder Vasheth rose from her ancient seat. Her crystal body caught the light, scattering it into rainbows. "You are telling us," she said carefully, "that the Veleth quarantine can be lifted? That all those we have eliminated died for nothing?" Moon's face softened. There was no triumph in her expression, only sadness. They did not die for nothing. They died because we were not there yet. Because the galaxy gave up on finding another way. But we do not give up, Elder. It is not in our nature. Vasheth was quiet for a long moment. Then she made a sound that might have been laughter or might have been crying. With her species, it was hard to tell. 12,000 years, she said. We followed the law because we thought there was no other choice. We killed children because we thought it was necessary. She looked at Thiranal, small and alive and clutching her colorful ball. And you proved us wrong in 30 days. We had help, Moon said. She looked at Su Min. We had someone willing to stand up and say that the law was wrong. That saving one child was worth any risk. Kolfen stepped forward. His gray face was troubled. For the first time in centuries, he did not know what to say. You have humiliated us, he said finally. You have shown the galaxy that the Council was wrong, that our most sacred law was a mistake. Yes, Moon agreed. But we are not here to humiliate anyone. We are here to offer the cure freely, to every species, without conditions, without payment. Why? It was Su Min who answered. She knelt down beside Thiranal and put an arm around her small shoulders. Because somewhere in this galaxy, there is a mother who was told her child would die. And now she will learn that her child can come home. That is why. The Velith ambassador rose from his seat. Tears streamed down his face. He looked at Thiranal, then at Su Min, then at the human delegation. On behalf of the Velith people, he said, his voice breaking, I thank you. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You owe us nothing, Su Min said. Just do one thing for me. Anything. She smiled. Bring her mother home. 1 month later, Su Min stood at the landing pad on Earth as a shuttle descended from orbit. Thiranal stood beside her, bouncing on her feet with excitement she could barely contain. The shuttle door opened. A Velith woman stepped out, thinner than she should have been, with eyes that had seen too much suffering. She looked around frantically until she saw her daughter. Mama! Thiranal ran forward, all 4 arms spread wide. The mother caught her. They collapsed together, holding each other, crying in a language that needed no translation. Su Min watched them. She thought about her own daughters, waiting at home, probably arguing about something silly. She thought about the galaxy, forever changed by what humanity had done. She thought about the long road ahead, full of challenges no one could predict. But right now, in this moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was a mother and child, together again. What mattered was that someone had said no to the darkness, and the darkness had blinked. Elder Vasheth had sent her a message that morning. It contained only 6 words. The universe has noticed you now. Su Min smiled. Let them notice. Let them watch. Let them learn. Humanity was here. And they were just getting started.